Hey guys, this is part 2 of the sales analysis project. If you've not yet done part 1, it will be linked in the description below. So in this video, we're going to be creating this dashboard. It is a fully dynamic dashboard. This is the final report that came from it. So I'll go to PowerBI and show you the interactivity of it. So this is the dashboard. It has the cards with the key sales metrics at the top. It has the monthly performance for every city, and the top 5 products and the bottom 5 products. Yeah. So these text boxes, they are all dynamic. So if I click on, say I filter using the city, so maybe I go something like Portland, the text boxes will change if that's the appropriate value for it to have. Yeah, so it's fully dynamic, everything is interactive. So if I clear the city filters, I come back to the month. So if I click on maybe say December, it's also dynamic. It shows you top 3 cities, bottom 3 cities. The tables, the content of the tables also changes, as well as the cards. So all these are text boxes that describe at least, they give at least insight into the visual, or rather a summary of the visual that we have displayed. So yeah, it's a fully dynamic dashboard. And you know, with data visualization, there's always an aspect of color blindness. So yeah, you need to make sure that your visuals, the colors that you use, they're colorblind friendly. I also have alternative colors you can use. There's this like version of orange and gray to show the top products and the bottom, and then there's also a version where you can just use the blue and the gray. Yeah, and then this is just a chart and a table. So instead of the table here, we have the chart. So yeah, that's it for this dashboard. This is the dashboard you're going to be creating today. We're going to create all this. For this dashboard was made with almost, I think, around 20 measures or so. So the measures are here on the right side. So if I just expand this a bit, yeah, we have so many measures. That's why I actually created them inside these folders to be able to manage them easily. So, and each of these measures, I've actually taken the time to comment them, so that in future I can also be able to recall like why I did what I did. So it's good practice to comment them, but in this video I'm not going to do that, just to save on time. Yeah, so if you're interested in being able to comment your own code and all the measures that you're going to write today, just you can get this PowerBI file. I've made it available in the description below. Yeah, anyway, on to today's video. In part 1 of this project, we created our database from a backup file, and then we connected it to PowerBI for cleaning. Yeah, so in this video, we're going to be doing the analysis and visualization. So if you've not yet done the part 1 for this video, it will be hard to follow along on this analysis and visualization video. So you can click on the link in the description to watch part 1 of this project. Yeah, so we are going to begin our analysis and visualization. And the first thing that we need to do is create our date table. So to create our date table, you're going to open Power Query Editor. So you just go to the Home tab, click on Transform Data. And I found that the easiest way to create your calendar table is just to create a duplicate of your existing table. Then you remove all the other columns except your date column. So I'm just going to right click on Append One and click on Duplicate. So once you've duplicated it, you can always rename it. So I'll rename mine calendar. Once you've renamed your column, you can just select the order date, right click it, and then you select remove other columns. Once you've done that, you'll rename your column to date, and then you'll remove all the duplicates. So you right click and select remove duplicate, so that we only have unique values in this column. So once you've done that, you're going now to add the extra columns that you're going to need in our date table, in our calendar table, I mean. So you'll select your date column, go up to the add column, then you click on this date icon. You click on the drop down. The first column we'll add is the year. We'll click on it again, go up to date, and then we'll add I'll add the month first. So this will just be the numbers 1 to 12 for each month, and then I'll come back here, add the date. So I'm going to go and add the day. So I'll first do the name of day, and then I'll select the date column again, go to day, and then I'll add the day. So you'll notice that I've not added the full month name, like for example, January, February, March, all the way to December. And the reason for that is because I noticed when you're creating visuals, when the names are too long, it makes it hard for you to increase the font to your desired size. So I've decided to use a bit of DAX to create this column. So I'm actually going to save these changes first. So we'll go to the Home tab and click on Close and Apply. So once your calendar table has loaded, you're going to expand it just to check that the columns you created have been loaded. So everything is good. So I'm going to go to the table view. So in the table view, I'll make sure I've selected my calendar table. So you need to add the month name column, but you want it to be abbreviated such that it is Jan, Feb, March, like that, April, so that they fit on the visual better. So I'll just click on new column. And my new column name will be month name, which will be equal to, I'm going to use the format function because I want it to be in a specific format. And then my value will be the date column in the calendar table. So I'll just write calendar because date is a keyword. And then you specify the format you want it to be in. So I want it to be abbreviated. I'll just do the 3 M's. Then that's it. You press enter. And this is exactly what I wanted. So this has been created for all the different months that we have in our data set. So once we've done that, our calendar table is basically complete. So we are going to right click on our calendar table and click on mark as date table so that PowerBI can identify this as the date table in our model. So we'll toggle this on. Then the column we choose is the date column. Then we'll click on save. But we have one more thing to do. We need to create a relationship between our calendar table and the append one table. So we'll go to the model view, and then the common column that they have is the date column. So remember, we removed the duplicates from the calendar table. So our date column only has unique values from the calendar table, but in the append one table, the same date could appear many times because several people could have made different orders on the same day. So in our calendar table, we have only one date, but it will appear several times in our append one table. So that's the connection you use to create a one-to-many relationship. So you just drag from the one to the many. This dialog appears. You don't need to change anything. Just click on save. When you do that, our one-to-many relationship has been created. So we're going to go back to the report view. And the next thing we'll do is we'll create our measures table. So this is for us. You don't necessarily need to do this, but it is good practice because we can create our measures within append one, all of them. But it's always recommended to create your measures and to have a measure table for all your measures. So to create this table, you'll go to the Home tab, then just click on Enter Data. And for our table, we'll call it underscore measures. And we're using the underscore just so that it can appear on top of all the other tables. So after creating our measures table, PowerBI has automatically added for us a column because you can't have a table with at least one you can't have a table without at least one column. So it has added for us the column 1 column, and you're going to delete it once we've created our first measure. But before we create our measures, we are going to format our canvas. So this area is the canvas. We're going to click on this icon, format your report page. On the canvas settings, the type, I'm going to do custom because I want my canvas to be a bit big. So for the height, instead of 720, we're going to do 1080. And then for the width, instead of 1280, we'll do 1920. The rest can remain as is. Then we'll go to the canvas background. I'd like to change my colors just slightly. If you're fine with white, then that's okay. So I'll change it to this sort of grayish color, but I'll decrease the transparency so that the gray just pops up a bit. So you don't have to do this. This is an optional step. So once we've done that, we've formatted our canvas, and now we can start creating our measures. So the first measures we'll create, they'll relate to the key sales metrics for this data that we have. So when I expand the append one table, these are all the columns that we have. So from this, we don't have a revenue column, so we don't know like what was the total revenue from the columns that we have, but we have two columns that we can use to derive the total revenue. So the first key sales metric we're going to create is the total revenue column. So there are two ways to create measures in Power BI. One, you can just click on the measures table, then up here under table tools, there's this icon for new measure, and number 2, you can right click on this measures table and then just select new measure. So you can use whichever method comes easy to you. So our new measure will be called total revenue. And to go to the next line, you just press Shift Enter. So to calculate the total revenue, I'm considering the columns that we have in our append one table. So we have the price each column and we have the quantity ordered column. So we are going to multiply those two to give us the revenue for each order, and then at the end we're going to sum up all those orders to give us the total revenue. So we are going to use the SUMX function as opposed to the sum function, because the sum function, it adds up all the numbers in a column. So this would have been appropriate if we would have already had a revenue column. So we would have just summed up all the values in that column. But since we do not have that, we have to first calculate that and then we'll be able to sum it up in the end. So SUMX returns the sum of an expression evaluated for each row in a table. So that's exactly what we want to do. We want for each row in our table, the price each to be multiplied by the quantity ordered so that we can get the revenue for that particular order. And we need to do that for all the orders in our data set. Then we'll sum up that to give us the total revenue. So SUMX will be the most appropriate function for this. So I'll just do quantity ordered. Sorry, the first parameter we need to decide is the table we are going to use. Then after that, we put our expression, which is the quantity ordered multiplied by the price each. So this was quite straightforward. So once you've done that, you can just press enter. And then we have created our total revenue column. So just to confirm that it has actually picked the correct value, I'll add another page where I'll create a card visual and just try to visualize that. So when we visualize it, it gives us 34.5 million, which is good. So I'll actually click on this measure and format it into one decimal place. Yeah, that's good enough. And then now the next key cell metric that you're going to look at is the total number of orders that were made. So to get the total number of orders, we'll just count all the rows in our data set, because basically each row in our data set represents an order. So to get the total number of orders, we just need to count all the rows in our data set. So for this, you'll click on the measures table once again, and you'll use whichever method comes easy to you. So our measure will be called total orders, which will be equal to, we're going to use a function called count rows. So it's just straightforward. It counts the numbers of rows in a table. So we'll count the rows on the append one table. We close the bracket. So for the total orders, once again, you can also visualize this in this same card. Let me drag it down a bit. Let's put it there. So I'll remove the total revenue and add the total orders, which is 186k orders. This has been rounded off, so I'm thinking it's pretty accurate. But just to confirm, you can click on the append one table, and then we'll go to the table view. Make sure append one is selected. Then at the bottom here, you can see it says append one on 85,950 rows. So on our card visual, it has basically been rounded off to an 86,000 orders, which is good. So now that we've created at least two measures, you can delete this column one. You click on the three dots and then you select delete from model. Yeah, we've deleted it. So now the next key metric that you're going to create is the total number of products sold. So this is important because a country may, for instance, have 20 products, but in the year they probably sold only 18. So we need to find out what happened to the two products. Why didn't they get any sales? Are they being phased out? Like, we need to find out if they had products which never received any sales within the year. So once again, we'll create another measure. Call the total product sold. And to be able to get this measure, we are going to actually count the number of unique products that are in the append one table. So you want the unique products, and for that, you're going to be using the distinct count function. And we apply this to the product column of append one. So this will give us the count of the unique products in the append one table. So you'll press enter. Then we'll visualize it once again in our card visual. So I'll remove total orders and select total products sold. So from our data set, we have 19 unique products. So as we do analysis, we are going to figure out whether all these products were sold throughout the year. And then the next key metric we're going to look at is the average order value. So we'll click on new measure. So the average order value is basically from all these 100 and around 86,000 orders we received, what was the average value of each order? Like if I was a customer and I ordered something, what was the average amount of money that I spent on my order? So we'll call this the average order value, which will be equal to, so this is simple logic. The average order value is the total revenue we've received from all the orders divided by the total number of orders. So divide by total orders, and you can see that with these measures they are very logical. So we couldn't have created the average order value without first getting the total revenue or the total number of orders. So we'll just click on enter, and then we'll come back and visualize this on our card visual. So the average order value, it's around 185.5 euros. So we'll format this to 0 decimal places. So select your measure, then up here just put that to 0. Yeah, so we have about 4 key sales metrics. The next key sale metric will be the month-over-month sales change percentage. So this measures the percentage change in sales from one month to the next. So for example, in January we had 100 euros in sales. In February we had 150 euros in sales. So the month-over-month sales change percentage will be the sales that we did in February, which is 150, minus the sales we did in January, which is 100, divided by the sales that were done in January, multiply that by 100, and you get the month-over-month sales change percentage. So this measure, it provides insight into how sales performance is evolving on a monthly basis, and it will help you identify trends and fluctuations. So to calculate this, we first need to calculate the total sales of the previous month. So as of right now, we have the total sales of the entire data set. So to calculate the total sales of the previous month, we're going to use the calculate function as well as the previous month functions. And this will help us to move the calendar 1 month behind and calculate the values again. We'll once again create another measure. So this measure is called total revenue previous month, which will be equal to, we're going to use the calculate function for this. So it evaluates an expression in a context modified by filters. So we want to calculate the total revenue, and we want to do this for the previous month. So we are going to calculate this on the calendar dates column, but we don't want for the current month. We want to do this for the previous month. So I'm going to use the previous month function. Make sure you close all the parentheses. Yeah, so that's it. So to visualize this, I'll actually just add a table visual. And in this table visual, I'll expand my calendar table, and I'll select the month and then select the month name. I've selected the month first just because it has the numbers ordered from 1 to 12, and it will help us order our month name from January to December. Otherwise, without it, the months will just be in some crazy order, and you want to see the month-over-month sales change percentage. So I'm going to add in the total revenue. So this is the total revenue for, like, let's say the current month for each of these months. So if I want to see the total revenue for the previous month, say I'm in February, and to the total revenue of January, it should still bring up 1.82 million. So when I add the total revenue previous month, for January it's blank because we don't have the data for December of 2018. Remember, this is data for 2019, so we don't have the data for 2018, December 2018, where we can get the total revenue for the previous month. So it makes sense that this is blank. But for February, you can see the total revenue for the previous month is 1.82 million, which matches with the revenue that we have for January. So the pattern is the same. In March, the total revenue for the previous month is 2.2 million, which matches what we have in February. So I think you get the logic. Yeah, so that is how you calculate the total revenue for the previous month. We'll also create a month-over-month sales change percent measure. So we'll come to our measures, create a new measure. So the month sales change percentage is basically the revenue for this month minus the revenue for the previous month, divide by the revenue of the previous month, then multiply by 100 to get a percentage. So we'll first create a variable. So this variable will be called this month. And in this variable, we're going to store the total revenue. Then the next thing we'll do is create a variable for the previous month. And in this, we're going to store the total revenue for the previous month that we just created. And then we want this measure to return for us the sales change as a percentage. So we're going to divide. So we're going to use the divide function. And then you're going to do this month minus the previous month. This will give us a value in euros. So whether it's 200 euros, 20 euros, whichever, and then we divide that by the previous month. Let's just move this down. We divide that by the previous month. Then close the bracket for the divide. You press enter, and you should have a percentage as a value. So we'll even format this as a percentage, because that's the format we want. Once again, you're going to test this on a CAD visual just to see that it works. So I'll remove the average order value. So it appears as a blank, and yet you're expecting a percentage value. So the reason for this is because when you use these measures in a CAD visual, they operate in the context of the entire data model, and they're not specific to a particular month unless you explicitly filter it that way. So what I mean is the month-over-month sales change percentage on our table visual, it is displaying that for let's add it to our table. So when you add it to our table, it will display it for each and every month. So when you do the same for a CAD visual, the CAD visual it interprets it as it's supposed to display all the values for all these months on the CAD visual, and yet a CAD visual is not meant to display data that way. A CAD visual is meant to display only one value, and in this case, you're giving it 11 values to display. So that's why it's showing blank, because it's not sure what value to display. So to resolve this issue, we are going to add a few measures, and in this approach, the measures will be tightly coupled with the context of the latest date. So we're not going to display the month-over-month sales for each and every month on the CAD visual, because it's just not possible. So we're going to be using the latest date so that the CAD visual shows us the correct value. So to find the latest date, you're going to first need to have the start of the month column. And this start of the month column will help us to be able to group the sales data by month. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my calendar table. And then I'm actually going to open it up in Power Query. Once I've opened it up in Power Query, I'm going to select the calendar table. Then we'll use the same format as before. You select the date column, go to the add column, click on date, then go to month and select the start of month. So this will give us the starting date for each month, which is the first of each month. Let's January, February, March, April, or whatever. This column gives us the start of each month. So I'll go back to the home tab and click on close and apply. So once you've added that, you can even add it to a visual just to make sure each month has, as you can see, for each month, the start of the month is the 1st of January. So it's the first of every month. So that is good to go. So the next thing we're going to do is actually calculate the latest date. So as I've mentioned before, the CAD visual can't display all the 11 month-over-month sales change percentages. We need to assign it one value. So the best way to go about this is to give it the latest date. So the latest date in our data set is December. So having added the start of month column, the latest date will be the 1st of December 2019. So we're going to create another measure called the latest date. So we want it to pick for us the latest date, which we already know is supposed to pick the 1st of December 2019. So that's the measure we're going to create. So it will be latest date is equals to, we're going to use a function called the last date, which returns the last non-blank date. So we're going to use the last date of the start of month column. So we are expecting to see the 1st of December. Once this has been created, we can add it to a table visual to make sure it's giving us what we expect. So the latest date for each of these months is the 1st of that month, and then the total is the 1st of December, which means it's working correctly because the latest date we're looking for from our data set is the 1st of December because it is actually the latest month in our data set. Then after creating the latest date, we're going now to create a measure that shows us the total revenue for the latest month. And from our data set, the latest month is December. So we need to calculate the latest revenue for the month of December. So once we create this measure, the value we'll expect to see is the 4.6 million because it is the latest date in our data set. So we'll come back to our measures table and just create this measure to pick only the revenue for the month of December because it is the latest date. And it sounds a bit complex, but I hope you're together. So this will be called the latest month total revenue, aka December. That is based on our data set. So we'll first create a variable that will store our latest date. So the latest date, which was aka the 1st of December 2019. And then after that, we want this measure to return the revenue for this particular month. So once again, you're going to use calculate, and we want to find the total revenue of the latest date. So it will be where the start of the month is equals to the latest date. So basically, we're finding the revenue for the month of December. So we close that, then we press enter. So after creating that, you're going to add it to our table and see what it gives us. So when you add it on the table, it gives us the revenue for each of these months. When you compare this column and this column, it's exactly the same thing, but the total is what we're interested in. It has given us 4.6 million, which is the same as the revenue for the month of December, which means we have captured it correctly. So once we've done that, we can now use this information to create the latest month-over-month sales change percentage. Remember, the card visual, it can only hold one value, but when you're creating the month-over-month sales change percentage, as we did with the previous formula, we are giving it 11 values to display, which will not be possible for a card visual. So we need to give it the latest month-over-month sales change percentage. So we'll create another measure. I'll click on new measure. And this measure will be called the latest month-over-month sales change percentage. So we are going to be using the latest date, which we created earlier. So LD, which stands for latest date. And then, like we did in the previous month-over-month sales change percentage, you need to calculate the revenue for this month, aka the month of December, which will be the latest month total revenue. And then you also need the revenue for the previous month. I think I can call this previous month sales. So this will be this month's sales. So to get the previous month's sales, you're going to use a function that will allow us to go 1 month back. So we need to get the latest date, and then you subtract 1 for us to go 1 month back. Because the latest date is 1st of December, and we are looking to calculate the total revenue for November, you're going to get the latest date, which is December, minus 1 to give us 1st of November. So to do that, we're going to use the calculate function as usual to calculate. So we need the total revenue for the previous month, which is December minus 1. So we'll do the start of month, which is equals to, we are going to use the edit function. And the edit function, it returns the date that is indicated, that is the indicated number of months before or after the start date. So we want it to return for us the 1 month before. So we are going to use the latest date but -1, so that it will give us November. Once you've created that, you can close the calculate function. Then you'll come down here, and what do we want our measure to return for us? So we want our measure to give us the sales change percentage, which will be this month minus previous month divided by the previous month. So in other words, we're doing December minus November divided by November times 100%. So we're going to use the divide function. Then you do this month's sales minus the previous month sales. Then you're going to divide that by the previous month sales. Then you close the colon, you close the bracket, you press enter to commit the measure. Once you do that, you can format it as a percentage up here. And I want it to be maybe 1 decimal place. If you prefer to, you can use that as well. Yeah, and then we'll come back to our table visual and visualize that and make sure that it's displaying correctly. So you've seen that we specified with the first month of a month sales change percentage. We didn't specify that we want the month of a month sales change percent of a specific month. We calculated for all the months, but for the month of a month sales change percentage, you've put sort of a filter to tell PowerBI that you want the month of a month sales change percentage of the month of December only, so that with it you can be able to display it on our card visual, which accepts only one value rather than 12 or 11. So that's why then, because of the sort of, I'll call it a filter we have applied for the month of December, we are getting blanks for the rest of all the months, but we're getting 44.2%, which is the same as from the month of a month sales change percent column. It's the same as this 44.19% just rounded off, which corresponds to the month of December. So we're going to come and add this to our card visual. So we'll remove the one we used earlier, and we'll use the latest month of a month sales change percent. And now it's displaying as it should. So now that we have created this key sales matrix, we are going to display this on a card visual. But before we do that, these measures have become quite a lot. So I want to actually group them, or rather categorize them into different folders so that I can manage them easily. So I'll click on the model view. And then on this section under the measures, I'll select the measures which I feel relate to each other and put them in the same folder. So for example, we've created quite a few measures when we were calculating the month of a month sales change percent. So I'm just going to select all of them. So you just click on one, you hold down Control, then you click on all the rest. So I'll click on all these measures that we've created while calculating the month of a month sales change percent. Also add the total revenue. Then in the properties pane, under the display folder, you give your folder name. So I'll give mine the name month of a month sales. Just call it month of a month sales change. Yeah, or rather month of a month sales. However you decide to name it, then you press enter and the folder will be created. So all these are under this folder. If I collapse it, you're not seeing them again. And then for the remainder of these measures, I'll just add them under a folder called something like calculations. You can call it whichever name you like. So now we can see that our measures are actually more organized and you can manage them a bit better. So we'll go back to page 1 of our canvas and we're going to begin visualizing. So make sure that you have the latest version of PowerBI, which is this version that has Copilot, and it also has this new slicer and new card visual. So for this visual, I'm going to use the new card visual that is in PowerBI, and then I'll expand. Let me collapse this. I'll expand my measures table, and the first measure I'm going to visualize is the total revenue, 34.5 as we had seen earlier. Then next will be the total orders, which is on 86,000, and then the average order value, which is 185, that's okay. Then the total product sold, you have to scroll to see that, that's 19. And then our month-over-month sales change percentage, remember, we're using the latest, which is 44.2%. So to make sure they're all displaying on one row and you don't have to scroll down, you go to this format your visual. On the layout, it's a single row, the style is cards, but the maximum cards shown is 3. So you want to increase that to maybe, you can even do 10. And then you expand it so that they all fit. So I'll just reduce this a bit so that they're in the middle. Yeah, and then I'll give it a bit of color just so that we can start building up on the color that we want to use for our report. So the callout values, I think the font size is good, so the color will be this blue. And then we'll make it bold. Then you're going to align it to the center. So I think that looks good enough. And then on the labels, you're going to increase the font size a bit, make it bold. The position is above and all that. So we'll come back later. And for these labels, you're going to, maybe you can make it custom, give it a custom label or something. Yeah, but we'll do that a bit later on when you're formatting the entire report. So once you've created that, the next thing you're going to do is show the monthly sales. So you want to see the revenue that was collected for each month. So for this, I'm going to use a line chart, which will display the trend. So for the months, I'll come here and select the month name and then the total revenue. So when you expand this, you can see that the months, they're just arranged anyhow. They do not have the usual order from January to December. So to correct this, for this month that we used, we're going to scroll down on this visualizations pane, and then we're going to select the month and add it to the tooltips. Actually, it's not the month, it's the start of month. So this will be the earliest start of month. If it's not selected, just click on the drop down and click on earliest. So once you've done that, you'll select your line chart, click on the 3 dots and select sort axis. So you're going to sort ascending. Then you'll come back there and sort axis by earliest start of month. So when you sort it that way, they're arranged chronologically from January all the way to December. So I'll come to the format visual once again. For the x-axis, which is the axis with the month name, you're going to turn off the title because you obviously know those are months. Then for the font, you're going to increase that to maybe 15. 15 is good. So I think by now you can see why I decided to use the abbreviated month names instead of the full month names, because if you would have increased the font like this with the full month names, they would have become slanted because there's not enough space for all of them. So yeah, that can be increased, and then I think that's good for now. Then for the y-axis, we're going to turn off the title as well as the values. And then for the values, we are going to turn on the data labels. Then we'll expand that and apply settings to all. The position is above, or rather let's just do auto because there are some which look better on top, others look on top and look better under. And then for the value, we'll expand that, we'll make it bold. I think we can make that up to 14. You can choose the whether it's black or gray, whichever looks better to you. Once we're done with that, we can collapse it. Then we'll turn on the markers. When you expand the markers, this is good. The markers are okay. But you'll come to colors. We select our shade of blue. Then we'll come up to lines. We'll expand it. And then the land style is solid, join type is round, the interpolation is smooth. Yeah, and then the smooth type will be monotone, that's okay. Then the color will select our blue. Yeah, so I think that is good enough for now. So we'll turn off the title for the chart. So we'll go to general. This title, we're going to turn it off. So I think for now, this will work for our monthly sales performance, and you can always edit that a bit more. You can always format it a bit more later. So for this, for the monthly sales, you can see the sales are increasing from January all the way to April. They drop a bit until June, then they begin rising in July, drop again in September, then they rise in October, drop in November, and rise all the way up in December. So we are going to create a text box that sort of explains or gives insight into the trend in this chart. So my text box will have the top 3 months and the bottom 3 months. So I'll just increase the font. I think I'll use a font of 18. So I'll just do top 3 months. And for this text box, you can make it as descriptive as you'd like. You can say maybe these 3 months performed, or rather you can just say January, February, and March performed the best, while December, November, August performed the least, something of the sort. But just to save on time, and just do top 3 months and bottom 3 months. So this is the aspect of the text box that will make into a dynamic, so that whichever filters are applied, you'll be able to see. Maybe for example, you apply a city filter, so you'll be able to see that in Dallas these 3 months performed the best and these 3 months are the bottom. Then maybe in Washington they'll be different from whatever was in Dallas. So we need to make this dynamic for the purpose of the filters that we will apply later on. So for us to be able to come up with the dynamic aspects, for us to be able to come up with those 3 dynamic months that we want for the top 3 and bottom 3, we're going to create 3 measures. One will be for the total revenue by month, and then the next one will be the top 3 months measure, and the next one will be the bottom 3 months. So we'll come to our measures table, we'll create a new measure. And of course, this measure will be called total revenue by month. It just makes sense that way. You can call it whatever you want. So we are going to use the calculate function as always, and then we want to calculate the total revenue for each month. So this will be total revenue, and then we're going to calculate this for each month. And for this, we're going to use a function that removes all the filters except the filters for month. So this function is called all except. So we're going to use all except on append 1 table, and then for the column name, we're going to use the month name, not start of month. And why we're doing this is because we decided that the calendar table is our date table. So any months we select or whatever, we're going to be selecting from the calendar table, but the total revenue will be in relation to the values in the append 1 table. So that's why we've used append 1 as the table, and then the month name will come from the calendars table. So we're going to press enter on this, and this will give us the total revenue per month by month. So if I come back here, let's remove this because I think we're done with all this. So I'll just add the total revenue by month, so we get the exact revenue amounts that we had here. So we're going to use this, and the reason why you couldn't even use this is because this is for the latest month. So its total is 4.6 million, and the total for this is 34.9 million. So we have our total revenue per month. So once we have that, now we can create measures for the top 3 months by revenue, and then the bottom 3 months by revenue. So to get the top 3 months by revenue, we're going to summarize the revenue by month. And luckily we have a function that does that. It's called summarize. So it will create for us a summary table that shows the total revenue for each month. Once we have that summary table, we want to pick the top 3 months based on revenue. Once we get those top 3 months, we are going to format them a bit. So we are going to add After each month, we add a comma. So we're going to join those 3 months together using commas and display that on our text box. So we're going to create the top 3 months measure. So as I've said earlier, we are going to first summarize them into a table. So we're going to use the summarize function. We want to summarize the append one table. So we are going to create a summary of the total revenue from the append one table, and we want to summarize the month name. So then this will be revenue. And then we'll use the total revenue by month measure that we had created. So at the moment, you won't actually be able to see the values of this so-called summary table we've created using the summarize function. But once we have summarized this, we want now to select the top 3 products from this summary table. So this summary table, it basically has the month name and the total revenue for each month. So now that we have that, we now need to pick the top 3 from this table. So I'll add in top n function, which gives us a given number of top rows according to a specified expression. So for this, we're going to do the top 3 months. If you want, you can do top 4, top 2, top 5, however you'd like. So these are the top 3 months. And inside this top function, we're going to select the summarize function. We're going to hit tab just to move it inside. So this will be the next parameter inside the top n function. So basically what this function says is that we're going to select the top 3 months from this sort of summary table, and we're going to order them by the total revenue. And you're going to order them in descending order, because descending order gives you from the highest to the lowest revenue. Once you've done that, we can close the top function, and then we want now to concatenate the month names. So to concatenate all this, we're going to wrap all this code in the concatenate x function. So we're not using concatenate because it joins 2 text strings into one string, and we clearly have more than 2. So we're going to be using the concatenate x, which the description is there. So once we do that, inside the concatenate x, we're going to concatenate the month names. So you'll select you're going to concatenate the month names, and then you specify the delimiter you're going to use. You're going to be using commas. And then we're going to order them by the total revenue and in descending order, because we want the highest revenue first. So we close the bracket on the concatenate x. So creating measures is actually quite simple. You just need to come up with the logic of what you want to achieve, and then find the appropriate function to use to help you to achieve that. So now that we have the top 3 months, you can visualize it. We can add it onto our text box, but first I want to create the bottom 3 months by revenue. So bottom 3 months is basically the same logic. We'll summarize each month and its total revenue, but this time, instead of arranging from the highest to lowest revenue, we'll arrange from lowest to highest revenue. So basically, the bottom 3 months, it will be the exact same DAX formula, except that for the descending, instead of descending, we'll use ascending. So rather than wait, let's just copy this and use it to create the bottom 3 months. So we'll click on measures once again. New measure, you just paste that in. For the top, you change it to bottom. Then for descending, you just change it to ascending, and that's it. You have our bottom 3 months revenue. It was that easy. So you click on that, enter. So now we're going to go back to our canvas, and I'll show you how to add this to your text box. So this is our text box with the top 3 months. So to add that, you just click inside the text box where you want to add those months. Then you click on this plus value. Click on plus value, then you search it here. So this will be top 3 months. It's come up, and then here under the result you'll see December, October and April, which we will confirm from our chart if it's accurate. So you need to name your value. So I'll say this is top 3 months, and then click on save. So the values have been displayed there. You just double click to select all of them. The font is 18, bold, give it whichever color you want. I'll stick with blue. So that's how we've added our top 3 months, and it's in a dynamic way. So now we can add the bottom 3 using the same format. So you just click on add value. You come up here and search bottom 3 months. It will give you January, September and February. You name it. Bottom 3 months. Just make sure you give everything you create meaningful names. Then you click on save. Once again, just double click. It will select all of them. Make it bold. Increase the font size. Change it to whichever color you want, or leave it as black. So I'll reduce the size of this text box. Then I'll move it up here. So of course we'll come back to format this stuff. So I'll actually move it up a bit to create room for the next visual. And our next visual will be the sales across the cities, the sales for each city across the year. So for this, I'm going to use this clustered bar chart and slot it down here. So the city is in the append 1 table, and then the total revenue is in the measures table. So we'll expand this. Let me format it from here. Then I'll drag it down. Select the visual, go to the format visual pane. As always, for the y-axis, we don't need the title telling us it is a city. And then what else? The font, we need to increase that to, I think we've been using 15. I try to be as consistent as possible. The color can remain the same. And then for the x-axis, we also don't need the values and the titles because we're going to use data labels. And then so for the bars, we're going to change it to our blue color. So that's perfect. You can actually make the bars a bit thicker if you want. Yeah, I'm sure that setting is somewhere here. And then now we'll come to the data labels section. We'll turn this on, you expand it, and then the position, we'll select the inside end. It automatically becomes white, and then you'll make it bold, and of course increase the font. Yeah, I think that's visible and good enough. So we'll come back to the general and turn off the chart title. And that's it for our clustered bar chart. So I'll reduce this a bit to make room for our text box. So we'll create a similar text box to the one we created for the line chart. So we'll just come up here and click on text box. We'll of course increase the font to, we've been using 18. So just to keep things simple, I'll just do top 3 cities. And as I said before, you can make this as descriptive as you want. Then I'll do bottom 3 cities. So once again, the logic for this is the same logic as the one for the top 3 months and the bottom 3 months. So we'll create those measures. The first measure will be the total revenue by city. Then you create the top 3 cities measure and the bottom 3 cities. You're basically using the same logic that you used in the month. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you can do that on your own. So where there's month name, you just replace it with city. This thing is hard to drag sometimes. So I'll actually just align this to be the same. But just so that I can show you how similar they are, let me just create the measure for the top 3, for the total revenue by city. So I'll just come to the total revenue by month, which is this. So I'm going to copy this and I'll show you just how easy it is to replace that. So I'll come to measures, create new measure. We're going to paste that in. So we'll change month to city. And then instead of using the month name, we're going to use the city column, which is in the append one table. And that's it. You have a total revenue by city. So for the top 3 cities, bottom 3 cities, we just use the same logic as the top 3 and bottom 3 months. So we now have the monthly sales and we have the sales for each city. Let me just align this real quick. So the next thing we'll do is calculate the top end products and the bottom end products. So what we will do is that we're going to create table visuals that are showing the top end products, and then the remaining products are going to be displayed in the others category, and we'll make this dynamic. So there will also be a slicer to filter with values from 1 to 5, and this range can be increased if you desire, or you can decrease it. So the logic that we're going to use to achieve this is we're going to add others as a row in our model. So it will sort of be like a product in our append one table, but it's technically not a product. And then after adding that to the append one table, we're going to show the top n of the number that we've decided, whether it's 5, 3, 4, whichever number, and the total sales. And then you're going to compute the value for others. And then you're going to sort or rank by the sales amount. And then in our tables, others should always appear last, regardless of the amount it has, because obviously we have 19 products in our table. So if we display only the top 5, we'll remain with 14 other products. Those 14 other products, the revenue will be under the others, and obviously others will always have the highest revenue, but when we are ranking, we want others to always be at the bottom. Yeah, so that is what we're going to do. So what we'll do first is we're going to create a pseudo table that has all the unique products from the append one table. So a pseudo table is basically like, I won't say a fake table, but kind of, just to make you understand. You create a pseudo table that has all the unique products from append one, and then you're going to add the others row to that table, but technically it won't be a product, but that's basically what you're going to be doing. So the logical steps to come up with that code is you're going to get all the unique products. You're going to create a custom table using the data table function, and then you're going to combine those two tables using union. So you're going to select any table, measures is the nearest, then you click on new table, and we'll call this table the pseudo prod table, which will be equal to, we want to find the unique products in the append one table. So we're going to use the distinct function to find the unique products. This is the column that will be in our pseudo prod table. So this is already one table. So now we need to create our second table that only has others as the value in that table. So, and for that second table, we're going to be using union to join it with the pseudo product table. So after creating that, we're going to do a comma. Then next, we're going to use the data table function. It returns a table with data defined inline. So the syntax for this is the data table, you want the name of that table, you want the name of that column, I mean. So our column will be called product, just like the product column in the append one. Then we're going to define the data type. The data type for it will be string. Then now we're going to define the value that will be stored there. So you use two curly braces. Because it's a string, we're going to use double quotes. Then you close it once again. Once we do that, we can close our data table. Then you can close our union function. So when you press enter, we have created a new table that has joined two tables. So that is basically the pseudo prod table has been joined with the data table that has others as a row within that table. To confirm that it's been added, you're going to select the product, and then you're going to scroll down and look for others. When you scroll, this is the others row that has been added sort of as part of the products. And since this is a new table you've added, we want to create a relationship between the pseudo product table and our main table, which is the append one table. So we'll go to the model view. And then inside the model view, I'm going to drag this here. And then I'll drag this here. just to look organized. So the common column is the product column. So this product column can it can appear only once, because remember we picked the unique values from the append one table and they are stored in this table along with the others row. So one product in the pseudo product table can appear multiple times in the append one table. So you'll create a one-to-many relationship. This dialog appears. You don't need to change anything unless yours doesn't look like this. Then you click on save. Yeah, and we've created our one-to-many relationship. We'll go back to our report view. So now that we have that, we now need to calculate the sales of the top n products and display the sales of the remaining products under others. So we are going to do this manually first, just to make sure that it works, and then we're going to sort of make it dynamic, or rather automate it. So the first thing we'll do is identify the top products based on their revenue. Then we'll calculate the revenue of those top products, calculate the revenue of the other products, and then we'll return the appropriate revenue depending on what is selected. So we'll create a new measure once again. This measure is called the top products revenue. So we'll create a variable that is going to store the top n selected value, whichever it is, whether we've decided to use 5 or 3 or 4, whatever. So that is the variable that is going to store the top selected value. And then we'll create another variable that or rather we'll create the table that contains only the top selected products based on the total revenue. So we'll create another variable that will be called top product table. So this will store the top 3 products that have been selected. So I'm going to use the top n function. And then we want to select, the n value will be 3. The table you want to select this from is from the pseudo product table, but we want to select this from all the selected products. So we are going to use the all selected function. So what this function does is it returns all the rows in a table or all the values in a column, ignoring any filters that may have been applied inside the query, but keeping filters that come from outside. So we are going to close that, and then we want to base this on the total revenue. Once you do that, you can close the top n function. So basically this variable we have created is going to store the top 3 products that have been selected, or the top whatever. If you define this value as 5, it will store the top 5 products. So now we need to calculate the total revenue for this top 3 products. So our variable will be called the top product sales, which will be equal to calculate. So we're going to calculate the total revenue. We're going to calculate the total revenue for these products that have been stored inside this top product table, but we want to keep all the filters that we have applied to this product table. So the filter we've applied is we want the top 3 products only, we don't want all the products. So we're going to, we want the total revenue for the products in the top product table, but we want to keep all the filters that we have applied there, which is we want only the top 3. So we're going to use the keep filters function. It changes the calculate and calculate table function filtering semantics. So that's it. So now we have the revenue for the top 3 products. Now we need to calculate the revenue for others, because remember we are the revenue for the rest of the products that are not in top 3 will be put under the others category. So we need to create a variable for the products that will be in the others category. So we'll call it the other sales. Once again, we'll use calculate. We want to find the total revenue from all the selected products. And of course, the logic for calculating the revenue for the others is getting the total revenue of all the products minus the revenue of the top products that you have selected. That will leave us with the revenue of all the other products that are not in the top products. So that's exactly what I'm writing here. So this first calculate portion is for calculating the revenue of all the products. As you can see, it does not have any filters. Once we've calculated the revenue of all those products, we're going to subtract the revenue of the top products that we have selected. So this will be selecting the total revenue from the top product table. I hope you're getting the logic. Yeah, so now with this, we have the revenue for the top products, and we also have the revenue for the products that will be in others, aka products that are not in the top products. So now we need to get the current product from the pseudo-prod table. So we create this as a variable. It will be called current prod, which will be equal to the selected value from the pseudo-prod table in the product column. So once we have that, we want this measure to return for us we're going to create an if function. So if the current product is not others, aka if the current product is in the top 3, we want to return the top product sales. Otherwise, if the current product is not in the top 3, we want to return other sales. So is not equal to others. Don't forget the quotes. Make sure you close the parentheses on if. So yeah, measures are actually very simple. You just come up with the logic and then you start writing the code for it slowly and building up on it until you finally get what you want. So yeah, so once you've done this, you just click on enter. So once I come back to this table, I can use the new measure I've created. So I've selected top 3 products. So once I add that measure, the top products revenue measure to this table, I should only have 3, actually 4 rows of data, because I've selected to see only the top 3 products, and then we'll have an others row for all the other products. Yeah, so if you get this, it means you've calculated it correctly, and this total down here is the total revenue for the top 3 products. So if I go back to the top products revenue measure and I convert this from 3 to something like 5, the total value should change, and also the number of products displayed should also change. Yeah, so now we have 5 products as well as the others row for all the other products. Then the total gives us the total of those top 5 products we've selected. So now that we have confirmed this is working, we need to now make it dynamic, or rather automated. So there are 2 ways to do this. You can create a table that has your top n values, or you can use a numeric range parameter. So I know that is a concept I've never spoken about before, but you can read an article I've linked in the description below to understand more. And if you still need more practice, I'm sure there's videos on YouTube that speak on the same. You can also check that out. So the option we're going to go with is creating a table with the top n values. So I'll select any table from here and then click on new table. So my table will be called top n selection. So this will basically contain the numbers of the top products that I want to select. If I want to select the top 7, the numbers there will be from 1 all the way to 7, but I'll just use 5 for mine. Then you press enter. And this new table is added down here. And it has one column called values, which has the values 1 all the way to 5. So with this table, we're going to use it to create our measure. So to create, I mean a slicer. So I'm going to add a slicer visual. I'll just use the old slicer, and then I'll add the value column. So I'll come to format visual and just change it to, let's see, you can change this to a vertical list. Then I'll just move it here. So when I click on it, nothing really happens. So for this slicer to be able to work with our table, we need to add it inside our top products revenue measure. And the way you're going to do that is you select that measure, then you're going to add it here. So we're going to do, we want the selected value from this specific column called value. So you want that whatever value is selected from this particular table of top end selection in the value column, we want that value to be put here. So after replacing that here, so for example, in our slicer, we select 5. 5 is what will be replaced here. So now when you come down here, instead of having 5, we'll have our variable name, which is top end selected. And that's it here. And that's all you have to do to make it dynamic. So once we come back to our measure, it's already working. So we have 2 products and others. If I do 4, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 products and others. Yeah, so remember earlier I told you that we need to rank these values according to their revenue, and we need to get from the highest to the lowest revenue. So when we do that, obviously we're going to get others as the highest revenue because it has the cumulative revenue of many products than the top product. So if you even click on this, you'll see others comes at the top, but that's not what we want. We want the top product, which is the MacBook Pro, to come at the top, followed by the second, third, and fourth product, and then others should always remain last, no matter how we sort this table. Yeah, so we'll come back to our page 1, and we're going to add our table and our slicer. So I think I'll start with the slicer. I'll do the old slicer, then I'll do the value. So for this, I'm going to use a tile. Then I'll just remove the not header icons. I'll remove the slicer header so that it remains that way. Then I'll go to the values, increase that to like 15 or even more. You can decrease the size of it even further if you'd like. You can just place it there. We'll arrange all this stuff later. So then we'll add our table visual, and then I'm going to add a product from the pseudo table, because remember we want to display the top products as well as others, and the only table that has the others row is the pseudo product table. If you use the append one table, you won't get the row that has others. So we'll do that, and then the top products revenue. So from this, from the slicer, if nothing is selected on the slicer, then we only have others displayed, and it has the total revenue for all the products. But if we select on the slicer like 5, we get the revenue of 5 products. So I'll go to format your visual. I'll actually select the table, go to format your visual. I'll start with the column headers. I'll take this all the way to 15, make it bold, and then go to values and make them also 15, but they won't be bold. So I think that's good enough. Yeah, so I think we can increase the values of this a bit more. The column headers can be 18. The values can be 18 as well. I think that's good enough. So once again, we'll create a text box. For this visual, we'll create 2 of them. And for this text box, we'll display the top selling product. So we'll just write the top selling product was, and then we'll create a dynamic measure to display that with a certain amount of sales in sales. So that will be what we'll display on this text box. Then we'll have another text box here on the side. And in this text box, we're going to write in that these 5 products, it's sort of like we're telling a story, you know. But so instead of writing 5, you want to pick the number that has been selected on our slicer. So if it's 4, here it should be 4. If it's 3, here it should be 3. If it's 5, it should be 5. So this dash 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 products made up a certain percentage of the total sales and a certain amount in revenue. Here we also create like dynamic measures for this. I'll just place it sort of in the middle of the table. Once we do that for the top products, you can also do the same. The same logic literally applies to the bottom product. So maybe you don't fancy tables, you can also create a column chart. So this chart, I'll just slot it down here. In this chart, once again, I'll have the product and the top products revenue, but now we'd like for the top products to have a different color and others as well to have a different color, just to differentiate them, because others technically isn't a product. And then we also want them to be arranged in a certain way. So we'd like for others to go to the end, and then for the first product, which is the MacBook Pro, to be at the end, then iPhone, and so on. So we want product 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then others at the end. So to do this, we also need a measure for it. And that measure will be the measure for ranking the products by their revenue. So I'll just show you how to do that real quick. So the measures, new measure. So I'll call this measure rank top because it ranks the top products. Then the first thing we'll do is check if the top products revenue measure is blank. So we'll write an if statement. If top products revenue is not equal to blank, then we want to rank the top products by the total revenue. So we're going to be using rank X for this. So I'll do rank X. Then I want to rank the top selected value. Whatever value will be selected from the slicer, that is what we are going to rank according to that number of products. So it will be all selected. I'm sure by now you understand this stuff. This will be ranked based on the total revenue. So we are going to rank these top products based on their total revenue. And then if there's a tie, we don't want to do anything. So we just leave it blank. And then you want to rank this in descending order. Then you're going to use a dense rank. So then you close the if. Then you press enter. So once you have the rank top measure, we are going to select our chart visual. Then you scroll down to the tooltips and just drag the rank top there. And then you will come and click on these three dots, sort axis by rank top. Then you're going to sort axis by sort ascending. So others will always receive the last rank. So when you hover, others has a rank of 6. The next product is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's exactly what we wanted. So if you know how to do the same for this product, for this table visual, because I've tried a few different ways and they have not worked. So I've resorted to having them 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then others. And ideally, I'd want them to be arranged like this chart. So I want it to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then others. So, but anyway, that's just something to think about and see if you can figure it out. But for now, I'll stick with the table visual. So I'll just delete this. But it's a good thing to know. So yeah, now that we have our products ranked from the top products as well as others, now we want to apply the conditional formatting. So we'll just select the table, go to the cell elements, and then for the series, you're going to select the top products revenue. You turn on the background color, you click on this. Then you go to more colors. I want to use green to show gain, like you can play around with this to get the perfect green. So the highest has to have the darkest green, and then it reduces as you go down. So you can play around with that to get the desired color that you want. Yeah, so now let's create the measures for the top selling product and the measures for these two text boxes, and then I'll leave you to do the same for the bottom products. So for this part, the top selling product was, we need to find the top selling product by sales amount. So we're going to create that measure. So I'll go to measures, click on new measure. So I want this to be top product by amount is equal to, you're expecting it to return MacBook Pro laptop from what you've seen in our table. So I want it to be wrapped in quotes. So I'll do double quote, single quote, double quote. Then I'll do the ampersand. So I'll do the top N. Of course, I'm going to rank, but I'm only take the top one because we only want one product. And then we're going to get the unique product name from the append one table. This will be based on the total revenue. And then of course I want it to be wrapped in quotes, so we'll add our ending quotes. That's it. So when I come back here, the top selling product was, click on add value, then I'll select top product by amount. It displays MacBook Pro laptop. If yours displays something else, then you did something wrong somewhere. So I'll just do top prod by amount. Then you click on save, then you control shift, the left arrow will select it, make it bold, make it to your desired color. I'll stick with my blue. And then now we need to find the sales amount for this MacBook Pro laptop. So we need to display inside this text box, we need to display this 8,037,600. So we'll again create another measure. And this measure will be called the top sales amount. So it should display for us the 8 million and something. So I'll just do TP sales amount. TP stands for top product. So I'll create a variable called the top product name. So we'll use the top n function once again. We want the top one product like we've done earlier. Then we are getting this unique product from the append one table. This will be based on the total revenue. You're basically writing the same code that you've just written. And then we want this measure to return the sales amount for this product. So we'll of course use calculate, then we want the total revenue. And then we're going to apply a filter in the append one table. So we want the total revenue that is returned to match the name of the product that is in the top one that we have selected. So we're going to use the filter function. It returns a table that has been filtered. So we're going to filter the append one table, and what we want to return is the product name that matches the product that has been selected in the top one. So is equals to top prod name. So we're going to close this brackets, bracket 1, bracket 2, and that's it. So we'll come back to this text box. TP sales amount. It shows 8 million and whatever. So this will be TP sales amount. Then you click on save. Control shift, left arrow, bold, then whichever color you desire. Yeah, so the top selling product was MacBook Pro with this amount in sales. So we've sorted that out. Then next we are going to select this value that's already up here. So I believe we've already created the logic for this. So I'll just go to measures and create a simple measure that will pick this value that has been selected on the slicer. So I'll call it the top selected value. is equals to selected value, top n selection value, which is basically the value that is in the slicer. So once I've added that, I can just come and input it here. Top selection value. Top selected value, I mean. And it should be 5 because 5 is what has been selected on the slicer. Click on save. So if I select 3, it changes to 3. If I select 4, it changes to 4. So it's working perfectly. So these top 4 products made up a certain percent of the total sales. So we need to create a measure that calculates the top product percentage sales. So this is basically like the top selected products, whether it's top 4, top 3, what percentage of sales did they make up. So the measure will be called top prod percent. So we're going to calculate a variable called the top prod, which will be equal to we're going to calculate the total revenue of the top n products that have been selected in the slicer. So it will be selected value, top n selection value from all the selected products in the pseudo product table. And we are going to base this on the total revenue. So once we've defined that, now we are going to define a variable that will calculate the percentage of total revenue from the top n product. So to do this, we just take the revenue from all the top n products divided by the total revenue from all the products, and we format that as a percentage. And you're good to go. So I'll call this variable top prod percent, which will be equal to, we want to divide the top prod, which is what we've calculated, that is the revenue for the top product, and the total revenue for all products. So we want this measure to give us the percentage. So if the selected value is equals to 0, so basically this means if nothing is selected on the slicer, we want it to return all product sales, I mean. However, if something is selected, then we want to format whatever value is returned as a percentage. So we'll format the top prod percent as a percentage. So we'll put double quotes, the hash percent. So we close the brackets. So we're going to test this out just now. Add value, this is called the top prod percent. It's 58.8%. So let's do top prod percent and save. We format it, of course. It's 58.8%. So our code that we've written, it says if nothing is selected, so let's just deselect this, it returns all product sales. But if we select a value, it calculates the percentage of that and returns it. So now we want to return the specific amount, which is the same amount that will be displayed in our table. So to do that, we've already calculated that revenue. It is the top products revenue measure. So I'll just do top products revenue measure, which is 16.9 M. So we'll just confirm that in a bit. Click on save. So this is very accurate. So top 3 has returned 16.9 million, 16.9. So I'll go back to the top 5. Yeah, so that is it for the top selling products. For the bottom selling products, you can actually just follow the same logic and you'll come up with the same thing. So for my bottom 5 products, however, I do not want to have a slicer to select the bottom whatever products. I just want it to be static. I just want to see the bottom 5 products only. I'm not interested in the bottom 7 or bottom whatever. I just want it to always display the bottom 5 products. So we're going to add our table here. And there's 2 ways you can go about this. You can display either the bottom 5 along with others or just the bottom 5 if you're not interested in how it compares to all the other products. So if you want to display the bottom 5 products without the others, of course you're going to use the product column from the append one table rather than the pseudo product table because it doesn't have the rows for others. So we'll come up here to the measures, and the first thing we'll do is create the bottom products revenue. So we'll first define the number of bottom products to be selected. So we'll create a variable and call it the bottom n selected, which will be equal to 5. If you want more, you can put more there. Then we'll create a table that will hold the bottom products. So this table will be called bottom prod table. So I'll do the top n. We'll again use just top n, just that we're going to be using the, what is it called? We're going to use ascending instead of descending. Bottom n selected. Sorry, this is not supposed to be 5. It should be the bottom n selected, which is equal to 5. So bottom n selected, and then all the selected products from the append one product column. You're going to base this on the total revenue. Then you're going to use the ascending, You're going to use the ascending order. You're going to close those brackets. Then you're going to calculate the total revenue. Of the bottom 5 products. So this is basically the same thing we're doing for the top 5 products. Then we're going to keep the filters that you selected in the bottom prod table that you created above. And then now we want our measure to return for us the bottom product sales. That's basically it. You press enter. You have the bottom product sales, so I'll select the product from the append one table, and then who is the bottom product sale, what products revenue? Yeah, so I'll come and format it here once again. Column headers were like 18. They were bold. The values were also like 18. This is it, and this doesn't actually have a lot. You just sort it from here. So this is from the list going up, and then the total is 1,078,993. So what I'll do, I'll actually not create the rest of the measures that will be in the text boxes. So I'll just copy and paste these text boxes here just to complete the look. But that's your homework. You're going to do that on your own. It's basically just modifying the same measure. Where there's ascending, where there's descending, I mean, you put ascending so that you can get the bottom products. That's just it. So I leave that up to you to do. Yeah, but I'll show you how to format, but you can format this the same as we formatted this. So I'll just come up here, go to the cell elements. The series will be the bottom products revenue. You turn on the background color. Then for this will be the other way around. So for minimum, it will have the darkest red color. Let's just do that. Then the maximum will have the lightest color. Let's click OK and see how that looks. Yeah, so that's it. So we're going to add a last text box here. And this text box will tell you to select a value. Shift Home, Control B. Actually don't want it to be blue, let it stay black. And place this text box here and align it to the right. So it tells you to select a value from here. And by the way, this slice only affects the top 5 products. Yeah, so the final thing we'll do is add the slicers for the city and the month that you can use to filter through the data. So I'll use the old slicer. I'll drag it up here. This side I'm going to put city. Once I've put city, I'm going to format slicer settings. I don't want a vertical list, I want a drop down. And then for the values, let's just do 18. We'll probably make them bold. Then for the slicer header, instead of just city, let's do select a city so that someone knows that they need to act. We also do an 18 there. That's good enough. And then we'll go to general effects and change the background color from black to some blue color. This is too light. Yeah, we can do that shade of purple. So I'll just copy and paste this slice and do the same and move it to this side for month. So instead of city here, we're going to use the month name column from our calendar table. So I'll select month name, then I'll change the slicer header value from select a city to select a month. So we'll just select them to make sure our dashboard is fully interactive. So let's do November. You can see the things change to be able to see. So you'll notice that when you select one month, it doesn't show you the month over month sales change percentage because it doesn't have anything it's comparing it with. So we'll have to select 2 months that actually follow each other. So let's do something like January and February. So I'll select January, I'll hold down Control and select February. So you see the sales over sales change percent was 20.8%. But if we do, let's do December, Control, and then do January. Oh yeah, that doesn't make sense because it's December of 2019, you're going backwards. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Let's see. Why did we have a dip so that you can see if there'll be a negative? October and November. Let's do October, Control, November. You see the month over month sales change percentage is a negative because the sales in November they dropped from where they were in October, and it clearly shows you here on this line chart. In October it was 3.74 million, in November it was 3.20 million. So I hope you understand the logic of the month over month sales change percent. So you can also just select the state just to see. Yeah, so for this table, these values, you can always format them to be 0 decimal places or 1. For uniformity, you can always format this as well. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can actually do. So yeah, so I hope you guys have learned a lot on this video. So we created so many measures. So my Power BI file will be available in the description. You can get it and use it to comment your own measures. Yeah, and also just to categorize them into the correct folders. So I think that's the last thing I'll do before I end this video. So I'll go back to the model tab, and then all these measures that have bottom in them will be in a folder called bottom. Anything with top will be in a folder called top. So I'll just hold down control, select anything that has bottom. You just have those three because I didn't finish doing everything. I've left that to you guys as homework so that you can continue challenging yourself and learning. So I'll open up the properties pane. And this folder will be called bottom. Then you press enter. And it's created all the measures inside. Then anything that has top, I'll just put it. Actually, there's the measures we've created purposely for making the text boxes dynamic. So those measures, I'm going to put them under a folder called text. So that is the top 3 cities, top 3 months, top product percentage, top product by amount, top selected value. What else? Top product sales amount. So I'll put this in a folder called text. And then the rest of anything that has top. Well, actually, the total revenue by city, total revenue by month, they all go under calculations, as well as, yeah, they all go under calculations. I mean, you can arrange them in the way that makes the most sense to you. So I'm left with rank top and top products revenue. So I'll put this under a folder called top. Yeah, and just like that, all my measures are arranged properly. So when I go back to the report view, all my measures are in a folder and everything is organized. So yeah, that marks the end of this video. Don't forget to check the important links in my description below. I'll have a link to this complete Power BI file. It will have all the other charts in the different colors, whether you want to use orange and gray or blue and gray or whichever colors you want to use. I've included 2 extra charts, or rather 2 extra dashboards, just like this, and all the measures that are in my Power BI file they'll be categorized like this into folders, and all these measures will be commented out. And it's good practice so that the next time I come back to look on this project, or when you guys leave me questions in the comment section below, even months from now, I can always come back to my file and remember like and read the comments from my own code and remember like I did this to this, and I'll be able to reply to you guys. So yeah, that was it for today's video. You'll get all the important links to this video in the description below, and if you'd also like to find out ways to support me, there'll be links in the description. Yeah, so commenting of these measures actually took quite a bit of my time, so if you feel like supporting me or just saying thank you for that, the link will be in the description. So I'll see you guys in the next video. If you have any ideas, or if there's something you're looking to learn you'd like me to do a video about, you can just leave that as a comment below. Appreciate you guys for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next one, and keep practicing.